Manmeet Chowdhury from Optimum Performance Solutions, and I am really, really inspired to be bringing you this video. I have somebody very inspiring with me, and his name is Scott Cranfield.
Thank you, Manmeet.
He's the author of Wisebear Stories. Now, I'll tell you a little bit about this, but as you know from my posts and from what I do, you know that I inspire and help individuals overcome emotional blocks that are holding them back from optimum performance in their personal and professional lives. Well, imagine you could have access to that for your children. And I'm so glad that Scott has taken that path to allow this kind of work to get to children. So, hi Scott. Thank you very much for joining.
Please be on your private jet. Very nice.
Yes, my private jet. Thank you so much for joining me. And I think I want to start by just telling the audience a little bit about how we know each other.
Yeah, of course.
So we met about, 10, 11 years ago?
2008.
Yes.
We started with John DiMartini's work, I think, at a very similar time, didn't we?
Yes.
I started in 2007, I think, similar to you.
Yeah.
And I think, obviously, we were more participants at that stage before
That's
we
right.
went on our journey of facilitating. But yeah, so, obviously, it's a major part for your life, and it has been for me. It's been a massive influence for me working with John's work, and I've used it in different areas of sport now, and obviously with children as well. But been inspired to learn from you as I've come to some of your trainings as well.
Oh, thank you.
Great, so.
Yeah. Can we, obviously we were participants, and I want to know a little bit about your journey, because you were doing something completely different to this.
Yeah.
So would you mind telling everybody what you used to do, who you used to work with,
Yeah.
and what's made you shift into working with children?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, I suppose I'm most known as a golf coach. That was really my main background, coaching golf. And I was very fortunate I got to coach some of the leading players in Europe and some of the best players in the world. And I still do that a little bit now. I still love golf and I still love coaching golf. But it was what I was doing full time, and also had my own golf academies where I was training a lot of golf coaches as well. And we still have that business. It's a lot smaller now, but that's been a big part of my life as well. And so, but in golf coaching, I was fascinated more than anything with the psychology side, the personal development, the human behavior side. I love the golf and I love the technique of golf, but it's really, for me, what's going on inside somebody's mind is what I'm fascinated with. So
Absolutely.
Hence my journey of going on that, learning as much as I can about that. So, and really, I suppose what changed for me, whilst I had a good career with golf coaching, I was very fortunate. I was a TV pundit for 10, 11 years as well during that time.
Before you go on to what made you change,
Yes.
why don't you share who you helped and
Of course, yeah.
because
So-
that's really inspiring what you help some golf players do.
So first of all, as a golf coach, I think the way I describe it and how the work of John DiMartini's work helped me was that I was having a good career, and probably was the mindset that you just keep working harder and harder and harder, and eventually you'll do well, and you've got to do that. But if you don't have the right mindset, you don't necessarily get the results that you want or maybe feel like you deserve sometimes. And so by doing some of John's work, I think I shifted in terms of my own mindset. And then one of the things that I attracted was being awarded what's known as a master role within the Professional Golfers Association, which at the time, not many people had achieved that.
Yes,
And so that was quite an accolade to get. But obviously I also applied the work I was learning from John with golfers that I was working with, and so I also attracted the golfers that tended to have the lows, that were struggling, to help them turn their game around. And I think probably the most noticeable story that I had there was working with a player called Simon Khan, who interestingly was losing his privileges as a golf professional top player. You have to have what's called a playing card to be able to go and earn the big money, and he was losing his, and we attacked it in a completely different way. Instead of, he came to me and probably thought I was going to tell him how to solve all the problems, but the first thing I said was, what's going to be the benefit to you of losing your card?
Oh,
And he looked at me like, Scott,
What do you mean?
I'm not here. I'm not here to find the benefits of losing my card. I want to keep my card. And so we looked at that, and it's really interesting. Once he'd really addressed that, his whole mindset relaxed about losing the card.
Wow.
And I think actually the end of the season, he performed extremely well, not quite well enough to keep his card. But the story continued. We continued to work, and he worked on all aspects of his game, but the mindset being one of them. And within, I think, 5 months, he won what was the biggest event on the European circuit.
Wow.
So it was really,
Yay,
really
that was
quite something.
awesome.
Yeah, no, it was really, really, really powerful. And knowing that during the last 9 holes of a 4-day tournament, he was using some of the things we discussed to keep himself very balanced, to not get too excited, because this was few years ago, and the first prize was £750,000 then.
Oh wow!
So you know, you can get excited.
You can get slightly excited about
get distracted
that. Yes.
by that. So that was really my golf side.
So what was it that, I mean, that sounds like, you know, you pretty much, you know, doing really well. You're working with some high quality, high net worth kind of clients.
Yeah.
What made you change at that point in your life?
I think family.
Okay.
More than anything. You know, I had done it for a long time. I was traveling a lot. At that stage, my second daughter had just come along. She was probably 1 or 2 at that stage. And, you know, priority shift.
Sure.
So I really had just a shift of what was important to me. And whilst I still loved doing it, I was away a lot, and I probably did want to be with the family more. And as a coach, and having been involved in that personal development side, you know, I have a great interest in how are people developing. And when you've got your own children, you get really interested.
Yeah.
You know, how are they developing, and how are they going to develop?
That's
and
human behaviour right there, isn't it? With
yeah,
the children and the family.
Absolutely. And that in itself is a challenge, working with your own children. But that's really what shifted, I suppose, for me more than anything. And so my work started to move towards, you know, families. And I'm a great believer in families and the power of the family. I believe in parents a lot, in the sense that I think sometimes we underestimate as parents how much we know.
Yeah.
You know, and we give our power away and think we don't know the answer. But I think parents actually, just being a parent is quite an achievement. And you've got so much to share with the children, and you know, I wanted to try and help encourage parents to do that, really. So.
Awesome. So what is it now then with Wisebear Stories that has really, you know, because I know when you and I have spoken, there's a completely different legacy, inspiration that is now behind that. So do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's again, you know, when you know something and you see how it helps, they're helping my children. These books came about because I was using them at night time with my children, you know. So when they were having challenges at school, I would create a story at night time that would be sort of 10 minutes long, and I would put them in the story but change the names.
Oh wow.
So they knew it was them. But they also were probably curious, is it really about me? But they knew the story. And then
awesome.
instead of dad solving the problem, we created a character called the Wise Bear. So the children would go and speak to the Wise Bear in the story, and the Wise Bear would give them a new perspective of how to look at the challenge they'd had. And so awesome. My kids would go to bed subconsciously processing all this, but you could just see they were relaxed and they thought about things differently. And it's, even as I'm thinking about it now, it's, you know, it's inspiring to me. And but you just knew, because then days later they would say, other challenges would come up, and they would then start to tell you how they saw it.
Oh, brilliant.
So they start to see the difference themselves, and they start to answer their own questions. And so
awesome.
so that was 2008 when I first did that. So I only had my eldest daughter at the time. My second one was just coming along. But we continued them, and then I wrote some of the stories down but never did anything with them. And it was only really a year and a half ago I decided, actually, this is worth sharing. You know, it's something that I've seen it help my children and other children. I'd like to try and now get this out and help as many children as possible. So
that's awesome.
That's where it came from.
So tell me a little bit about the books, because I mean, you know, when you told me, I also had tears, because I was like, yes, finally someone is bringing, you know, balanced mindset to children. And you've got 6 different books. I mean, let me just there's 6 you know, different in the series. And you know, you've got like bullying, a new perspective. You have friendships, coping with the ups and downs. You've got discovering your own uniqueness. How to love the things you don't. Fair exchange, everyone wins. And then you've got criticism, the truth everyone must learn. And I mean, the first of all, the titles are just brilliant. And I've read these books, and even though you've made them for children, Scott, I have to say they're such a great read as an adult. And I've also forwarded them onto, you know, adults, and they love it too. Actually, I went on holiday not too long ago, and I was at a beautiful resort in Nicaragua, in a place called Managua, and I had them with me. And, you know, I was reading them, you know, sunbathing and reading. And a couple of the adults there were like, oh, what's that you're reading? And,
Yeah.
it looks a bit odd when you're reading kids' books, But when I shared with them, they were parents.
Right.
And I gave it to them to read while I was there. And, when they came back to me, they were like, this is what my kids need.
Right.
And they go, I finally understand stuff about my life that I didn't even know.
Yeah.
So I'm really, it's very inspiring that you've written them for kids, but I think they also have an impact on adults too, and whether you're parents or not. Because I'm not a parent, but I think just reading the books also just gives it to you really simple, and especially a lot, because you'd kind of think, well, bullying can be in any form,
Sure.
and what you think. It could be somebody you work with, it could be a friend, it could be somebody at school that you went through. So I think, even just understanding something like that, and I love this one, criticism, the truth, everyone must learn. And I think that is like, well, there isn't anybody in this world that's not going to be criticized at some point. So kids or not kids. So tell me something about these stories that you've made them for children. What age group did you have in mind when you wrote the books?
When I did them, the age group I had was 7 to 11, really. But interestingly, since the books have gone out and we've started to get some feedback, certainly, there's certainly examples of 4-year-olds that are benefiting from the principles. So that's really interesting. So I'm certainly saying 5 to 11 now, but I think, some 4-year-olds are. And particularly if the key bit, if the parent has an interest and is interested in children learning this type of thing, then I think the children pick it up much younger anyway. So I think that's probably the key bit there. But as you said, look, it doesn't matter how much you know, we all still need a coach, don't we, from time to time.
Absolutely.
We were just talking about this before we started. And so actually, when I'm sharing the stories of my own children, even though I think I might know quite a bit, even when I'm sharing the story, I'm still learning again.
Yeah,
I'm
absolutely.
still reminding myself. So the principles are the principles, aren't they? You can't get away from that. And sometimes we do overcomplicate things. So actually, written for children is good for adults as well. To hear it in that simplistic way.
Yeah, absolutely. So. And why do you think these books kind of differ from other children's books?
The key bit for me is, which I think, again, we're fortunate to have worked with John DeMartini, is that they're not based on what I'd call created models. They are based on the true essence of human behaviour. And they help children find the truth, and the truth sets you free. And it's teaching them those strategies that they can continue to use. So it doesn't matter what comes up, eventually as they keep reading, they keep learning how to think, not what to think. And as I think the process of that, then they can start to be adapting that and applying it to many things. The other thing I'd like to believe that we've done, and it's been mentioned, is that there's an exercise at the end of every story. So
yes, I love that.
So in a way, they're a bedtime story for a parent and child to read together. But there's an element, and this may scare some children, an element of schooling in it, in the sense that you do a bit of work.
Yeah.
But I think actually, you doing that bit of work with your child, again, is where the adult learns as well. So I think that's they're the things I think that make it stand out, really.
Yeah, I mean, they're written so well. They're so, they're simple. I'm like, so when I read them, I was like, oh, why don't I have kids to share them with? So what I did was, I was like, who are my surrogate kids, and they were my friends' kids, nieces, nephews that I have. Yeah. And I was like, right, I want to share this with them. And I think I want to share, a very good friend of mine who, we gave her the books, and she has a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old. And, what the feedback, first of all, we got from my friend, because, her name's Gemini, and because she's into this work as well. And actually, interestingly, Anushka, who's the 4-year-old, she's come as a result of, John DeMartini's work. Because Gemini wasn't able to have children. And so it's very inspiring now that his work is being given through you, to the children. And, she sent me a beautiful voice note, which I think, you got. It was like, Auntie, when I know this one thing, that anytime I am being, challenged by somebody at nursery, someone is always going to be supporting me, and that was just when I get tears as I hear it again, because for a 4-year-old to get
the
that,
value of that
is
immense.
Imagine us getting it at that age, and I think with that inspiration, Scott, that's why I felt so inspired to get you on, because I want to help you get this work out there to the children, to the parents, to teach their children. And so how can we get them to either purchase the books or go on your website? Like what do you have for people who are interested in Wisebear?
Yeah, no, certainly. So there is the Wisebear Stories is what the book's called. So the wisebearstories.com is the key website, and it's the only place at the moment you can buy the books, and we've done that for a specific reason, because it's not just the books. There's other support material that we're developing to go with that, and I want to be in a position that anybody that puts the trust in us to invest in the books, we then can help then share with them further information to help them even understand the books even more, and to help their children and themselves.
Yeah, you did a webinar the other day that I got onto, and that was brilliant. Like for parents to even get onto that, to see. So that's something that is, if you're a part of the Wisebear Club,
exactly,
right?
Yeah. So as soon as if you buy the books, or you can just go to the website and just join the Wisebear Club, which is free, and you'll still get invited to some of those things. There'll be some that more specific to people who bought the books, but some generally available as well. So,
great.
So the wisebearstories.com website, and then the Facebook page as well. We put a lot of videos out, training videos and support videos on there. So if you just search for the Wisebear Stories,
like the page, make sure you like the page and put the notifications on, so you get a notification every time Scott puts up a video.
Yeah, that's great. No,
and also on Instagram, so follow it on Instagram as well, because you're loading some things up on there as well, which is brilliant. Yeah,
they're brilliant. And I think, would we like to give them a little?
Oh, I think they'll be waiting for that.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. So what we're going to do for Mamit's group, we're going to do a little code. So if you do decide to buy the books, just go to the website, and when you get to the checkout, there's a little coupon code. If you just enter WB for Wisebear, WB Club, just enter that, and we will set a special discount code up, especially for you guys, and therefore you'll get them at a reduced rate. Or you can see Mamit.
Yeah, I've got them here at the office. You can come and get them from me directly, or obviously go to the website and get them delivered to your home. So that's WB Club in the coupon code, and I'll post the link and everything here as well for you once we post this video. Awesome. Anything you would like to leave the viewers with, the listeners with?
Do you know, I would say again, I'm sure there's many parents listening and probably aspiring parents. Don't underestimate your own life journey, of the value you're gaining in that and the wisdom you're gaining. And I think that in today's world, there is so much distraction with electronic gadgets, and there's entertainment at our fingertips all the time. But I'd say, probably I'd leave with this. If you've got kids, make sure there's dedicated time throughout the day. Dinner time's a great time. Don't allow those gadgets anywhere near. And just re-engage in those conversations and share your wisdom with them, because I promise you, you've got it, and they will value that more than anything they find on their phone or on their iPads.
Oh, absolutely.
They may not agree with that straight away, but they will do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we'll leave the guys with something that we've been talking about just before we got on screen. Scott and I are thinking of doing a workshop which is for parents and children, so that you can have access to this work and help you with parenting, as well as helping the children understand these principles and bringing out their unique genius too. So if you're interested in that, let me know, and we'll get things moving.
Absolutely.
We've been brainstorming, and it's something that we're both inspired to do. And as I said, I think I'm very inspired to just know that even getting this video out is a little piece that I can play, helping you get the books out.
Thank you, Rach.
So thank you, Scott. Thank you very much for being with me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.